And it may be that to achieve these zero emission type of vehicles that we're looking for today, there have to be some kind of subsidy to encourage people to go in that direction. And one of the subsidies might be that if you have a vehicle that's not running on fuel, it's running on a battery or something like that, that you not have to pay the fuel tax. And people would say, gee, I just passed a car and he's got a battery-powered car and he's not paying anything to use these roads, and I am. And the answer to that is, why don't you get a car like he has, and then you won't have to pay the fuel tax either, i.e. it would be a major subsidy to encourage people to get into these types of cars, which ultimately is going to benefit the economy of America, because we're going to purchase less foreign-produced oil, and we're going to keep the money from going overseas. It will massive help to our balance of payments, and it's also a big help in terms of emissions. And I have to say, the engines today are so clean that the emission thing may be a bit overstated, but it would be a help in the emission area too. But it would be a particular help. It would be a subsidy to encourage people to run on these hybrid vehicles. And I think that's what we're trying to do. If you make fuel very inexpensive, you're never going to see that happen. So.
And I know the economy runs on people having jobs and the entrepreneur going out and creating a situation for jobs. You being a national leader that we have here in our state, maybe you could help us, help our viewers, the 12 million that are going to be viewing you. Where is the optimism? You know, it sort of seems, okay, we have our balance of payments are off, but does the optimism come with the fact that if we reduce our dependence on foreign oil, is what you're talking about, these new technologies, is that where we're going to reap the benefits in the future?
I think it's a very positive development. 3 or 4 years ago, it wasn't there, but with all this gas they're discovering, not only in Pennsylvania, but in the Barnett Shale and other places, we can look with some optimism to the future that we might be able to provide the energy domestically rather than almost entirely with foreign sources of oil. So that's down the road, and we're talking here 10 years from now. We're not talking tomorrow. But it's a good direction to go. I think it makes sense from a government policy point of view, and maybe the subsidies can accelerate it. So instead of 10 years, it's 8 years away. However distant it is in the future. But we do know that the gas is here, and we do know that the technology is here for automobiles with batteries, and they have to be charged up. But you know what? You can fire utilities that generate the electricity with gas just as well, and it's a very clean burning fuel. So there are a lot of new things on the horizon that cause us to have some optimism. Let's say one other thing that's of a major consideration here. It used to be that gas was quoted in terms of barrels of oil equivalent. And that's when they were priced pretty much the same way. You could get so much energy out of 1,000 MCFs of gas versus out of a barrel of oil. That's no longer the case. Oil with OPEC is now energy-wise about 5 times, or let's call it 3 or 4 times more expensive than gas. Now I want to tell you that if I had my old job back at running Daily, and I could buy fuel for 1/3 the cost, man, I'd be a buyer. Mm-hmm. All right, and so I don't know whether gas is artificially cheap right now, or oil is artificially expensive right now. But right now, there's a tremendous cost incentive to looking at gas, natural gas, as a potential source of energy, because the pricing is so attractive versus what we're paying right now for oil.
And it's something we have,
Yes.
that we have right here. It's cleaner, than the other forms. And going back to the jobs that everybody's concerned about, and also a commercial for the trucking industry, that if you bought it, a truck brought it. We need to worry when our loved ones go off in the morning that they're going to get back safely, and that's roads that being able to be repaired and maintained, which, as we talked about earlier, the interstate system has, outlived its usefulness. In fact, it's way beyond. You know, we've been very fortunate. They did a wonderful job in the 50s and 60s. That these roads are staying together longer than people ever thought. But with that, are there new things that if you got one-third the fuel, are there new things in the trucking industry that makes it more efficient? I believe with the computerization, the new technology as well, that there's actually less truck trips because of the way that's packaged and the way they smartly deliver and about delivery on time. You know, can you speak a little bit to that as we have to conclude?
Be happy to.
In our last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, logistics companies today are very, very good at building loads to eliminate loaded miles, and that saves the shipper, you know, $2 a mile, whatever it happens to be, every loaded mile you eliminate. And they're big into doing that, and there's whole professions have built up around the science of building these loads more profitably, putting more freight in the cube, and what we have today is a whole profession of logistics experts that cut down the amount of trucks on the road by more efficiently packaging their goods, and they're very good at it. They're there because people they replaced didn't do as good a job as they can do, so they're good at it, and they're working at it right now, and that's a very big area. Third-party logistics companies are huge today. Boy, 30 years ago when I first learned the business, they weren't around. Most of them weren't around. So I think that the future will bring change. It will be a positive change. We have to address the immediate problem of the need for replacing the tolls. Tolls are taxes, by the way, and the tolls aren't going to be there, and so they're going to have to come up with some financing vehicle. And it seems to me what's worked for the last 50 years is what they're going to be looking at, and people should understand that roads are built with oil-based products, and they're more expensive than they used to be. And if the legislatures find the courage to support a road tax as a legal, acceptable, efficient funding vehicle, I think the people of America should realize that that's the way it's been done in the past, and that's going to be the way it's going to be done in the future.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, so we're going to see the legislature struggle with this issue since the governor's called a special session of the legislature.
That's right. Yeah.
I hope that they might call you up to testify, Bob. I think that the material that you shared with us today would be very useful for the legislature to hear as well.
Thank you,
and
Charlie.
we'll be sure that they do receive copies of our show as well. So we want to thank you for being on the show today. You've delivered some new ideas to our audience that we've never heard before, and we thank you for that. So we'll be following this and hope to have you back real soon. Jere, thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week with a new edition of Behind the Headlines. We'll see you then.